so happy that in the discussions we have had, we've been making identify somebody who is struggling with an occurrence in life, which could be distressing, which could cause a psychological challenge, and be able to make the linkage to the appropriate person who would take care of the matter. So this collective responsibility strengthens the social fabric of communities and ensures that no one faces difficult circumstances alone. A compassionate community would be one where empathy, kindness, and mutual support are embedded in everyday interactions. And the good thing about this life is whatever you give out, you will get it. Sometimes in greater measure, in the sense that if you show compassion to other people, it tends to attract a lot of compassion to you too. And that is one of the ways that we can do some of the steps that everybody can take from his own little corner to ensure we have more compassionate communities. Such communities definitely would recognize that emotional well-being is a shared responsibility and that everyone can contribute to healing and recovery. When beyond being a specialized intervention and becomes a community-wide culture of care where everyone has a role in fostering hope, recovery, and human connection. Now, the responsibility that most of us in this particular forum and out there have is that of behavior change communication. So we should not continue operating in the silos that it is only people who are educated, knowledgeable, or skilled in mental health that can be able to provide some of these resources that are sometimes very ordinary and common, but could make a great deal of difference in the lives of people who have suffered an adverse effect or the other. And to reduce stigmatization, we need to be champions of behavior change. We need to give in our communities some knowledge to people about some of the things we face. One example of people whom commonly we stigmatize, and sometimes we do so unconsciously, is those who have mental health issues like addictions and the rest of them. As a pharmacist, and as a mental health pharmacist for that matter, I know that these people are people who are sick. They have an illness. It's a mental illness. But most of the time we get too forensic about it and we treat it much more on the criminal side. And this forces most of those people to go underground. They cannot be able to share their stories and they cannot get help before any help can be gotten or before the community or members of the family can realize that there is a problem. It would have reached a stage that is very difficult to bring that person out of. So we must begin to make this advocacy, whether it's in our churches. I belong to a church that sometimes if it's found out that somebody is taking alcohol, he gets suspended. But to my mind, I believe such people rather should be counseled. And if we find out that that person is already an addict, we can make these people, we can link these people to scientific processes of rehabilitation and the rest of them. And if you check in our communities again, rehabilitation is somewhat stigmatized. So we have some work to do, but it's a good thing to see many people coming together to discuss issues about psychological first aid. And I believe we can start the conversation there and ensure that we all champion a situation where we have a theory of change, where things improve from where we stand today till tomorrow, where everybody sees that psychological first aid, which could help us to look, listen, and link, and ensure that everybody within the community accesses the help they need and gets the support they need. That would be a very great thing to happen to our country. And seeing all of you here makes me feel happy, and I know that in the future this is very, very achievable. Thank you very much for your kind attention. I will take any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. August.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sure, please. Yes, good evening once again. A very brilliant presentation from the panelists. Mr. Augustine, I sincerely appreciate your wealth of knowledge and experience shared here. I would love that to, if possible, let's have a glimpse, especially as regards your immediate environment, your ministry. You know, Nigeria, like we try to look at it now, in Nigeria, how do we see the psychological first aid, reflecting, especially in the humanitarian ministry. If you could share one or two experiences with us, probably so that we will move forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, for our ministry, the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, it is a coordinating ministry. And that is because humanitarian affairs, and that includes first aid, right, are also everybody's business. And there are so many different ministries, departments, and agencies of government that play roles that are concerned with these humanitarian activities. I can give you an example with Federal Ministry of Health. If there's an outbreak of a disease or there is an unfortunate occurrence that happens, maybe there's an accident, there's a bomb blast, there's something, you know that sometimes the first responders are health workers because they take people from there in ambulance services and take them to hospitals. Sometimes you also find issues that affect children and women, and we have the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs that is taking care of that. In all these ministries, that our own ministry will actually look at and see how we can do a public promotion or awareness about this PFE and see how communities can come together and see what resources they can put down to ensure that they promote this. But I can give you an example with a certain time that some children went out to demonstrate, and that time they were arrested, and then they were minors, and they were even taken to remand. But our ministry, the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, did intervene. They liaised with the Federal Ministry of Justice and also some international NGOs. Specifically, we had UNICEF, we had the International Organization for Migration, and the rest of them. So they were able to bring in psychosocial support, mental health and psychosocial support experts, get those who could bring some food items and non-food items to look at these people. With the advocacy that was done to the Federal Ministry of Justice, those people, the federal government stopped pursuing a case against these minors, and then they were taken into custody. Most of them were from Kano. I'm sure you can remember the Federal Ministry of Aviation also ensured that they got flown to Kano, and everything they needed was provided at that particular point in time because our ministry had to come in to coordinate these things. So our ministry doesn't just do one thing, but it coordinates these affairs across all ministries, departments, and agencies of government.